I don't have any respect for the ICC. So, like, their judgment doesn't have any effect on my view of events. I do have respect for the ICJ. I think they actually did very good research. I know, for example, that John Mearsheimer, I think before the ICJ, the initial judgment, he was loath to describe Israeli actions as genocidal, but he carefully read all the evidence, that had been laid out in the ICJ um, charges, and he was convinced from that it was genocide. That court really did its work, but the ICC is just an instrument of the rules based international order, or the international rules based, or whatever it is. I forget what.
International rules-based order.
Yeah, right. And so, a lot of their judgments are just, of course, there's the one to arrest Putin for apparently kidnapping children. Nobody can point out which children were kidnapped, but, he's supposed to be, there's a warrant out for his arrest. And then later for Shoigu for attacking infrastructure, which is completely absurd because, of course, actually the Russians were very slow to go after infrastructure, while the Americans, in every war that they fought, whether it's Serbia or Iraq or whatever, that's the first thing you go after. They spend like 2 months blowing up every last power plant and water treatment facility and bridge and everything in the country. But so there is no standard of justice with the ICC. So anyway, I just want to say that first. But this judgment, I think, really will have an impact, and it is going to it further damages the reputation of Israel, because there are a lot of countries that are kind of sitting on the fence, that are greatly disturbed by what's going on in Israel, but they're afraid of being accused of anti-Semitism. But this judgment gives them cover, and I think neither Netanyahu nor Gallant is likely to ever be arrested. But I guess they're going to have to change a lot of their travel plans and vacation plans, because virtually, or a large number of European countries have already said that they will be arrested if they step foot on their territory. Still, that's not a likely outcome. The important thing is that I think this gives cover and maybe impetus to different countries to maybe impose sanctions on Israel of one kind and another, economic sanctions or military sanctions. It's not going to have any effect in the U.S. In fact, we have Senator Tom Cotton saying that we should invade the Netherlands or something.
Right.
But yeah, it does hurt Israel. There's no question about it.
Well, you were saying that basically the ICC is an institution of the U.S.-led international rules-based order. But I think that makes it even more impactful, though. Just the fact that this is an institution that we set up, that was created after World War II for us to control the world, to establish this rules-based order.
Right.
And now they have issued these arrest warrants for Netanyahu and Gallant, and the U.S. seems to their immediate response from the United States is to say, well, now we're going to war against the ICC, against international law. This was our whole thing, right? That's what we've been touting since World War II.
Well, I think actually way back there was some move to bring charges against George W. Bush, and the U.S. made it clear back then. They threatened the ICC, you're not doing that. And some people even use that same kind of language. We'll invade the Netherlands if we do it. So it's not the first time we've made these kind of threats. But yeah, it is important. It is very much an instrument of Western hegemony. So why did they do it? Well, I think it's clear, and it's also clear from the response that most of Europe supports it. I think even Joseph Borrell came out and said, yeah, this we have to support this. It doesn't mean an abandonment of Zionism, unfortunately, or even of the genocide, really. It's just that I think it's like, even we find within the U.S., there is a lot of resentment against Netanyahu. Like within the Democratic Party, a lot of Democratic congressmen and senators or whatever are angry at Netanyahu. Chuck Schumer, a long-time, very fervent supporter of Israel, condemned.
Technical difficulties. You're talking, I believe, about Chuck Schumer and how he was denouncing Netanyahu publicly.
Yeah. So, okay. I think Chuck Schumer and many other Western leaders are are disturbed. They understand that what's going on in Israel is a real bad look for Israel and for the West in general. I think it was Joseph Borrell just like a week or two ago was saying that, this is really hurting us. I mean, the rest of the world is looking at this and they're actually assigning part of the blame to us, the Europeans. We got to do something about this. And his solution was just pathetic, but that's something we talked about earlier. So there clearly is a great deal of concern. But yet all of them are still Zionists. They're still committed to the Zionist project. Chuck Schumer is no less a Zionist today than he was before he gave that speech. And, Macron, Starmer, they're all Zionists. But they know something's wrong. So for them, the solution is to get rid of Netanyahu, pin the blame on this one individual and say, yeah, he messed up. He did. They won't admit that he went so far as genocide, but yeah, he committed some war crimes. He handled this badly. The problem is Israel is still the most moral nation on the earth, and Zionism is holy. We all believe that, but Netanyahu has to go. And I think that's, again, why the ICC, which again is very much an instrument of the international rules-based order, they went along with. They probably had a lot of Western leaders saying, "Hey, yeah, get rid of Netanyahu, bring charges against him," and they think that actually could solve the problem. Of course, it won't, because anybody who replaces him is going to be, if anything, probably even more gung ho on ethnic cleansing and war with Iran. Yeah. And again,
right?
Netanyahu is not an outlier within Israel. He has a great deal of support. The majority of the population clearly support what he's doing. So, they're wrong about that. Just like their analysis, they can't really accept the reality, just like they can't accept the reality of Russia and Ukraine. They live in a make-believe world with respect to the Middle East.